moderated sessions. Now it is time for us to have the closing session. Now, in this session, we are going to talk about the resolution, how we can finalize it, how we can edit the wording, and also we will vote whether the resolution passes or the resolution falls. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Secretariat for the closing session is ready and all well prepared for this session. Am I right? Closing Secretariat, give me a thumbs up. Secretary General, would you like to say something?
Yes. Delegates, I have mixed feelings this afternoon. One, I'm disappointed that the United Nations has not been able to receive as much contribution as we can for the World One School program. So, but nevertheless, we will be moving forward with this program and try to persuade delegates and countries on a one-on-one basis to be able to contribute to this online school to help the students or the children who have no access at the moment to the internet schools. Second, to give you an update, the facts that were put in the report this morning were found to be accurate. That is the latest information that I've received from the correspondent for the United Nations on the ground. Our UN rapporteur has confirmed 768 children lost their lives on board the marine vessel. And our prayers go out to their families, to their parents, wherever they may be. Certainly you'll be reading about it in the press. And just a third thing before I hand over to our very able secretariat to conduct the closing session, I do hope that you will vote intelligently, vote with your heart, vote with your mind, do not vote purely on politics, and that you will support some solution to our program. I believe my thanks go out to the delegates from the United States of America who will be sponsoring a resolution. And I ask all of you to look at it critically and to see if that is the way forward to build a better world for our children. Thank you very much. And I will now hand it over to Ms. Griselda from Indonesia, and she is supported by her team of secretariats. Ms. Griselda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Secretary General. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Griselda, and I am the chairperson of the closing and lobbying session. I am here with my team, Secretary Medina and Secretary Vito. This conference has two issues, in which the first issue is child labor, and the second issue on free education. We would like to start this session by inviting USA, the sponsor of the resolution, to please take the floor. The chair recognizes the delegates of USA to present the resolution on both child labor and free secondary education. USA, please share your screen.
Thank you, Chair.
Other delegates, you are allowed to contribute for comments, questions, and proposed amendments of the USA's resolution, and it is available for revision. Please raise your hand if you want to talk. However, note that you have 1 minute to talk, and Secretariat Vito will set the timer as soon as you speak. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. As the head of mission of the United States of America, I will be speaking on behalf of the United States of America regarding our proposal and regarding our resolution paper. Our co-submitters include the Philippines, Singapore, Japan, Australia, and Canada. First of all, we would like to bear in mind of the Article 28 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which quotes that every child has the right to an education, and primary education should be free. Secondary and higher education should be available to every child, and children should be encouraged to go to school to the highest level possible. And discipline in schools should respect children's rights and never use violence. Also, recalling its resolution on the rights of the child that also focuses on providing all the best resources for a child that they could ever receive. We have also been concerned by the recent high rates of child labor, and we highly suggest other countries that do have the same goals as us to adopt the rules and regulations in which child labor is handled diligently and definitely in most cases punished. Also expressing concerns to the country's child labor issues. Country's child labor issues are connected to the standard of education that the children that are living in that country are receiving. Because children who do not have access to great education are the main targets and are illegally subjected to child labor. The three main points that we would like to encourage and offer first is the substantial development of an international Fair Labor Act that protects child laborers all across the world. And secondly, we would like to insist that the punishment given to prospective child labor employers should be of a stricter manner in all countries of the world. And thirdly, we would like to develop countries to cooperate in the creation of a world fund that is directed to the less fortunate nations. So we would like for all the developed countries that have additional fundings to maybe donate money for the less fortunate countries in order for them to also develop free education up until the secondary level. And we strongly encourage nations to modify the laws regarding the employment of children under the age of 14 into a more equitable fashion. We also suggest the establishment of the World Forum on Educational World Fund that will arise annually as fundings of minimum $100 million from each thriving country convene to be given out to nations who are in need of financial support for the development of free education up until secondary level. We also insist that the creation of the fund should be supported by all the financially advanced countries, as I have mentioned before. For example, the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Australia, Japan, and many other developed countries that have the financial support. And we also recognize the work of the children in the Philippines that is completely unacceptable, as there are approximately 2.1 million child laborers aged between 5 to 17 years, and with roughly 95% of them being subjected to hazardous work that endangers their health. Next, we emphasize the need for proper rules and regulations, such as the Fair Labor Act that explicitly protects child laborers from harmful workforce practices to be given to them in many countries. And we call for the international community wishing to increase their financial aid for the safety of children and the improvement of their rights as children of the world. Lastly, we would like to request the Secretary General to deliver a global report on the progress toward achieving a safer environment for children who are living in all nations of the world, and the creation of free education up to the secondary level for every country of the world. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, USA. Now we will move on. Are there any more comments from other delegates?
Rise for the Secretary General.
Madam Chairman, may I be recognized?
You're recognized.
Thank you. Can I suggest that we continue to share screen and go through each of the resolutions one by one? I believe there are 8. Can we look at the actual resolutions? Right. My question for the delegate of the United States is, can we have a better definition of thriving and a better definition of financially advanced countries?
Right, sir. So the financially advanced countries that we're talking about here are the countries that already have the financial power to provide free education up to the secondary level. And therefore, if they are kind enough to donate money to the other countries that are not able to do that specific matter because of their lack of financial support, and yeah.
Delegate of the United States, is this going to be a voluntary contribution, or are you suggesting that it is mandatory contribution? Thank you. I yield back to the floor.
We believe this is voluntary. So we know that these rules may not work for other countries, some countries, and therefore this is a voluntary action because only countries that do agree with our goals may vote for our resolution.
A question, delegate of United States, who will have control of the funds and who will decide how the money is being spent?
All right, so the countries that will donate are in control of the funds. And also we will decide together, like we will have an organizational meeting where we decide which countries to give and how much money do we give and how to spread the money equally into all the countries that are in need. Thank you.
Delegate of United States, are you now saying this, that what about countries who do not contribute to the fund? Can they still receive monies from the funds? Thank you.
Right, so we are focusing on giving the money to countries that are in need, countries that are in need of financial support. And we are targeting countries that actually have the financial support to join with us. And just for example, Japan, they are quite a big financial country. And so even if they do not volunteer to donate the money, they wouldn't be getting the money that we're going to donate because the money is going to be donated to countries such as Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, that really need the money to develop this free education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer, delegate from the United States. Madam Chairperson, could I suggest that we do a quick roll call to see what is the position of each country at our conference this morning, this afternoon, to see whether they are in favor of such a fund and whether they would at least consider paying money into this fund. That is my suggestion, Lady Chairperson. I also see that the envoy from Unicef seeks to be recognized.
Unicef, you've been recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will suggest, especially UNICEF is United Nations organization that govern govern about the children's right, whether it's education and labor. Can we suggest that all the funds that have been collected for this is governed under us. So we are in neutral ground rather than certain country handling the fund. I yield back the floor.
Chair, may I have the floor?
USA, you've been recognized.
Thank you. Answering to envoy of Unicef, yes, we actually may strongly agree to that, especially if the Unicef is controlling the fundings. It will be a lot more fair as UNICEF is controlling it and all the rest of the countries are donating the money. So no financial givings will be biased by the countries. Thank you. I yield the floor back to the chair.
Madam Chairperson, perhaps we should ask all the delegates here, what is their position on these voluntary contributions and whether they would contribute to this fund of at least 100 million US dollars. Thank you, Lady Chairperson.
Other delegates, you are allowed to contribute for comments, questions, and proposed amendments of USA's resolution, and it is available for revision. Please raise your hand if you want to talk. You're limited to 1 minute. Thank you.
Lady Chairperson, I would urge again that you call each country individually to see what is their position on this fund. Thank you, Lady Chairperson. So perhaps I would challenge then as the Secretary General, Australia, what is your position? Can I ask one of the Assistant Secretaries to take over? Because I think the Chairperson, Lady Chairperson is having internet problems. Australia, what is your position on your contribution to these funds? I'm sorry, but I could not hear you. What is Australia's position on your contribution to these funds? Australia? Are you in favor?
You may say in favor, against, or abstain.
Australia, are you in favor of setting up this World Education Fund to be governed by Unicef? Will you contribute?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Australia. Canada?
I'm in favor.
In favor. Thank you. Can I just ask one of the Assistant Secretaries, maybe Secretary Medina, to take over the roll call just to see what is the feeling of the delegates today. Go ahead, Secretary Medina. She's very faint. I cannot hear her. Is it my connection or?
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
Medina. Yes, could you take over? Or Griselda, are you back?
Yes.
Okay, I think you should call all the countries. I would like to know as Secretary General, which countries are in favor of setting up this World Education Fund to be governed and organized by UNICEF. Go ahead, Griselda. Lady
China.
Chairperson.
We are in
Thank-
favor on the resolution.
India.
We are in favor as well.
Thank you. Indonesia,
We're in favor as well.
Japan. We're in favor. Malaysia,
We're in favor.
Mexico, Mexico,
Masih marah-marah.
Mexico. Candidates of Mexico, please respond in 10 seconds. Okay, let's move on. Philippines. 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 Candidates of Philippines, please respond in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Singapore,
We are in favor.
South Korea, South Korea, candidates of South Korea, please respond in 10 seconds.
I believe the delegate from South Korea is using the chat box.
In favor.
Okay. Thailand,
In favor.
in
We
favor.
agree.
In
USA,
favor.
and Vietnam.
We're in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegates, for your generosity. And it'll be interesting to see whether Philippines and Mexico make an application for funds to borrow for Mexican children and Filipino children. When it comes to borrowing the money, we'll see how fast you stand in line. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Chairman. Maybe we could move on to another resolution, another part of the resolution. Can I ask you to share screen again, please? Any questions from the other delegates? What is the delegates' view of adopting an American standard? An American standard. I would like to ask the delegates, what are their views on adopting an American standard under the Fair Labor Act as an international standard for employment of children? Before that, maybe the delegate from the United States can very quickly explain what kind of standards this is and what are the kinds of standards that we can find within the Act. I would invite the delegate from the United States to explain that first, and then to see whether or not the other delegates have questions about whether that standard fits with their own country's interests. Thank you. I yield the floor back to you.
Chair, may I have the floor?
Delegates of USA, you are recognized.
Thank you. So first of all, we would like to explain about the standards of the Fair Labor Act that is currently controlling the child labor also in the United States. So firstly, the Fair Labor Act develops rules. The first one is for employers to pay extra wages for their employees if their employees work overtime. And secondly is the limit of time for child laborers. Like for example, 14-year-old children are not able to work in most industries, and 16-year-olds children under 16-year-olds are only allowed to work maximum of 3 hours in a day. And also this also protects children from being put in work that are dangerous and hazardous to their health. Secondly, the punishment given to the prospective child labor employers should be of a stricter manner. So currently the punishment is of 10,000 US dollars for employers of child labor who violates the Fair Labor Act law, and an additional 6 months to 2-year imprisonment if they violate for the second time. And for the third one, the creation of a world fund, I'm sure we have explained it before. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you. Yes. Are there any delegates or to comment, or Unicef, you've been recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For regarding about this rule, United States, do you think it's a little bit harsh, especially for the country who doesn't have financial backing as United States, to force this country to enact this rule? I would like a response from other countries, actually, like for India, Indonesia, to respond to this. Thank you. I yield back the floor.
Thank you. Are there comments from other delegates? India, you've been recognized.
I would like to ask about USA's laws. So you said that children under 14 cannot do any hard works and hard tasks, but as I saw on the one before that we had your children, which are the one responsible in Mexico, they were trapped inside to work for the factories to make your brand, your shoes. So that's the same thing as hard work. That's it from me. I yield back the floor.
Thank you.
Chair, may I have the floor? May we have the floor?
You've been recognized.
Thank you. So answering to India's question, yes, we actually have no control with the, it is upon our jurisdiction because the tragedy happened outside of the United States of America. And we are aware of the fact that the company, which is Nike, that is responsible for the act is actually based in America. But then again, the tragedy didn't happen inside the borders of America. And therefore, we are still working on how we can control that outside of our jurisdiction. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegates of USA.
Madam Chairman, may I be recognized?
You've been recognized.
I would like to ask the delegate from the Philippines, what is his position on the resolution, the specific resolution regarding the Philippines? Are you interested to defend that, or are you just going to leave countries to vote on that resolution? Thank you. I yield the floor back to Lady Chairperson.
Thank you. Delegates of India, you've been recognized.
Yeah, I just want to question about USA's answer before. You said that it's out of your hands, though how would you try to give a punishment to Nike? Because Nike is under your area and under your responsibility. So how would you think to, to like give a punishment to Nike? Thank you. I yield back the floor.
Thank you.
Chair, may we have the floor?
Delegates of USA, you've been recognized.
Right, so answering India's question, how would we give punishments to Nike? Yes, we actually in the Fair Labor Act, it states that also our rules states that employers of child labor that violates the rules, they will get consequences and punishment that are equal to the harm that they have caused. But in this case, Nike is quite a large company, and also it's quite popular in the world. And so at the moment, it is really difficult to search through the people who are actually responsible. Like we do not know specifically, as you said, we do not know specifically that Nike is doing it. Like there may be many other people under that company that are doing this harmful acts. And yeah, we yield the floor back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegates of USA. Are there any more comments from other delegates?
I believe the delegates from China are seeking to be recognized.
Delegates of China, you've been recognized.
I want to ask a question about the 3-hour law. Why is it has to be 3 hours? I mean, isn't it like too short for working? Why not just like bend them, like no work at all? I mean, 3 hours is a short time, so I yield back the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegates of China.
Chair, may we have the floor?
Delegates of USA, you've been recognized.
Right, so answering to China's question, yes, why 3 hours? Because that's the regulated rules. That is why we strongly would like to regulate child labor. This is because children, especially 14-year-old to 18-year-old children, children in general, they have to go to school and they have to gain education. And therefore, if the time for the labor is more than 3 hours, we believe that it would disturb their schedule, their daily schedule, and it would disturb their educational opportunities of studying in their daily lives. Thank you. Yield the floor back to the chair.
But wouldn't this mean, Delegate of the United States, that you are presupposing that these children are also in school? But you're talking about children between the age of 14 to 17, and many of them have already completed school. So limiting them to 3 hours is impractical. Secondly, for agricultural countries, they may have a problem because you cannot work in the field for 3 hours and they are not going to school anyway. Could you respond after listening perhaps to the delegate from India? Delegate from India?
Yes, so I would just like to ask another question from USA delegate's response before. You said that it's out of your hand to not know that who is under the responsibility to have those kids stuck in Mexico on Nike. So I would like to ask that a lot of big shoe companies that are outside of the USA have been through these kind of things and they shut down the company. And for a few weeks, they're not allowed to reproduce. And what are you going to do about it? Since the other countries have made a more effective solution on the company, and what about USA? That's it for me. Thank you. I yield back the floor.
Thank you.
Uh,
Delegates of USA, you've been recognized.
Thank you. So I would like to answer to India's question first. Yes, in the future, there would be consequences. We would have to give consequences to the company of Nike, whether it's not stopping the production of Nike for a period of time, or whether it's fining them for regulating the acts and other consequences as well. And I would also like to answer to the Secretary General's question. Yes, so the rule of the 3-hour maximum workforce for 16-year-old children and below is that some of them, although yes, some of them are not in school already, but also sometimes we know that children would want to go a next level of education, which is to college. And even if they are not in school, they're also in college, which is a lot more harsher and need more attention. And therefore we are limiting it to 3-hour rule. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegates of USA. Are there any more comments from other delegates? Okay, USA, is your resolution finalized?
Madam Chairman, I think there is a question from MSNBC.
Wait, I'm allowed to ask question?
Been recognized.
It will be up to the chairperson.
All right. So as it stated, like Nike is a really famous brand, right? And there are a lot of people who have been sponsored by Nike to use their brand, like artists and many other people. But will you also condemn those people to be held responsible, as those people help Nike to sell their product, and the product in turn, because they sell more product, the Nike will continue the practice of child labor? I'm asking the US. Yeah. I yield the floor back to chair.
Thank you. USA, you've been recognized.
Thank you. So the one that's actually responsible for these acts is Nike itself, and not the people who are sponsored by Nike, because the people who are sponsored by Nike, they care about the sponsorship and they care about the money that they actually get from the sponsorship. So no, we greatly would prefer to punish the Nike company rather than the actual people who are actually sponsored by Nike. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegates of USA. Are there any more comments from other delegates?
I believe India wants to say something, Madam Chairperson.
Delegates of India, you've been recognized.
Yeah, I have, of course, another question. So I would like to ask you, since Nike was the one responsible for the sponsorships, would Nike be the one to pay the fine for the sponsorships, or would you ask Nike to pay everything for you? That's my question. Thank you. I yield back the floor.
Thank you. USA, you've been recognized.
I'm sorry, can the delegate of India repeat her question? I didn't really get the question. I didn't really understand the question.
Delegates of India, you've been recognized.
Okay, so my main question is that there are a lot of sponsorships that paid for Nike, and Nike have used those sponsorships to make their business big. So are the sponsorships also responsible for Nike's act, or are you like still giving the sponsorships fine, or are you just letting them go off? I yield back the floor.
Thank you, India. USA, you've been recognized.
Thank you. So if the sponsors of Nike are aware of their acts, of course they would be subjected to a fine. But if they are not, we don't know if they do or they don't know the acts that Nike are doing. So therefore, yes, if the sponsorships are aware and they still sponsor Nike, then yes, they would be subjected to a fine and other consequences. But if they don't, then no. Thank you. We yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, delegates of USA. Are there any more comments from other delegates? Okay. USA, is the resolution finalized?
Yes, it is, Chair.
Now we ask for a country to second the resolution. Please raise your hand to be a seconder. Are there any countries who wanted to be a seconder?
Point of order.
If you recognize.
Okay, I believe that we should go with a roll call and ask whether the countries are in favor, against, or abstain, because we believe that when it comes to using a raising hand, it's not going to be easily recognized. We yield the floor.
No, but point of order. I think Lady Chairperson is not asking for the vote. She's just asking for a seconder of the resolution. And it seems that none of the countries want to second this resolution. Not even the co-sponsors or the supporting nations. Can I ask the United States of America, you have listed out a few countries there as supporting your resolution. Have you asked them, actually asked them whether they are going to vote in favor of this resolution? Thank you. Over to you, back to you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Would United States like to respond? Do you have a seconder for the resolution?
Yes, so we've asked the co-submitters. We have asked our allies if they would like to vote on our resolution, and all 5 of them agreed to vote on our resolution. But I do not know about the seconding thing.
The seconder, well, any one of the 5 can also second the resolution. So perhaps you can speak to one of your co-sponsoring states to second the resolution.
All right, thank you.
So is there a seconder for the resolution?
Is there any seconders for the resolution?
Me.
Who is me?
Quill, the head of
I don't care your Quill, you're head of the mission of Vietnam.
I was
Yes.
saying that. That's the
No,
thing.
you were not saying that.
I
You
said that
me.
while you said it. Yeah, sure.
No, you said me. And then I
Yeah,
said,
but then
who
I
are you?
said, you know what? No, forget it. Yeah, I would like to second.
Point of decorum, Vietnam seconds.
I'm sorry, Vietnam, is it?
Yes.
All right, then delegates of Vietnam, you are officially a seconder to USA's resolution. Now that we have a resolution and a seconder, we will move on to the voting session. Delegates of all countries, when I call your country name, please vote yes if you agree with the resolution or no if you disagree with the resolution.
Madam Chairman, I would like to be recognized.
You're recognized.
Delegates, read the resolution carefully. Is it really something that you want to become part of international law? That is the question. Read the resolutions. Can your country accept those terms as set out by the sponsor and the seconder of this resolution? It's not a simple matter of just saying yes to everything. When you say yes, you are going to be bound by international law. This becomes your law and you have to follow it. So that is the only caveat that I would put before the delegates vote. Back to you. I yield the floor back to Madam Chairman.
Thank you. So delegates of all countries, when I call your country name, please vote. Yes, if you agree, or no, if you disagree. Australia?
Yes.
Canada?
Agree.
China? China?
We are sorry to say, but we can't take the offer.
India?
We are also very sorry we cannot take the offer.
Indonesia? Indonesia?
Yes.
Japan?
Yes.
Malaysia? Malaysia? Candidates of Malaysia, please respond in 10 seconds. Malaysia? Candidates of Malaysia abstain.
Yes.
Mexico? Candidates of Mexico? Candidates of Mexico, please respond in 10 seconds. Mexico, you're abstain. Philippines?
Yes.
Singapore?
Yes.
South Korea?
Yes.
Thailand?
No.
USA?
Yes.
Vietnam?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
The voting session is now closed. Members of the committee, please wait a few moments for us to announce the voting results of USA's resolution and its amendments by other delegates. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe that the voting result is ready.
Yes.
The member of the committee, we would like to announce the voting results of the USA resolution and the contributions from the delegates. We present that the resolution is passed. More than half of the countries voted in the agreement to USA resolution of the child labor and the free education, secondary education. Thank you.
Therefore, we wholly conclude that the resolution sponsored by USA and amendments by other delegates on child labor and free secondary education is passed.
All members of the committee, we would like to thank and appreciate each and every one of you who have worked very hard in participating in this event. We've had a successful committee meeting and we hope every member enjoyed it. Now, I would like to invite Secretary General Mr. Harry Elias to address the delegates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegates, and thank you to the Secretariat for a job well done. I think I would invite everyone in this meeting to give them a round of applause for a very smooth session. And thank you, delegates, for your inputs. It seems that we are making some headway to helping children all over the world. Right, with that, I conclude this meeting of Unicef. Thank you for sponsoring it, and thank you for the resolution. Well done, everybody. Okay, everyone, that's the end of our